Helping people build ambitious and satisfying careers, businesses, and lives. This is the Influence Ecology podcast. Now, here is your host, John Patterson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's me, John Patterson, the co-founder and CEO of Influence Ecology, the leading business education in transactional competence. Today's mini-sode is an exclusive preview of the July 2020 Influence Ecology 3D virtual conferences. Through Verbella for virtual events, Influence Ecology now offers a social engagement and communication solution on our private 3D virtual campus. It transforms a real-time campus into an unforgettable, fully immersive experience. Our private virtual campus is designed to promote real social interaction, engagement, and collaboration with speakers, attendees, faculty, sponsors, and campus partners. Today, we hear one of our 40 featured conference experts share how they build potent transactions that produce better outcomes. As we teach it, the principle of personality and transactional behavior allows each of us to exploit our unique perspective. From a combination of their worldview and expertise, each conference speaker will reveal their specialized strategies and tactics that you can apply to your own business or profession. Our 3D virtual campus allows you to meet today's guest, other experts, and participants 24 hours a day from both conferences and in any country. Here's the interview. Simon Chesney, welcome back to the Influence Ecology podcast. It's great to have you here with us.
It's great to be back with you, John.
So let's start by telling our listeners, say your name, where you live, and a little bit about what you do, and then say something about your specialization.
Okay. So my name's Simon Chesney. I live in Northern California in the Bay Area. My job title is Enterprise Lean Agile Coach, which is quite a mouthful. But what it really means is that I help usually large and technology-focused companies transform the way people work together in order for that to be a better and more productive experience for everyone. So I'm, as I said, an Enterprise Lean Agile Coach. Within that domain, I've specialized at a couple of levels. So I'm a Scaled Agile Program Consultant Trainer. I'm designated as a certified internal Scaled Agile Program Consultant Trainer, which means that I can train program consultants to teach lean and agile techniques to other people. So I'm a train the trainer. And there are relatively few people designated in that way. When it comes to folks working in large enterprises, I'm one of a handful of people in the world that have that particular type of designation. And then I'm further specializing within that field. As you know, I'm collaborating with Alex Bald and Dallas Hinsley and Tim Morrissey and Dan Murphy and yourself and some others in the application of transactional competence to agile transformation, which I'm very passionate about because as are the others that we're collaborating with, because we've seen the enormous difference that an increase in transactional competence brings to individuals and teams when it comes to affecting authentic change in an organization in a positive way.
The opportunity we have here is to say a little bit about that enormous change. I believe you, I've seen it, but for our listeners, what does that mean? So, for example, if I don't know transactional competence, I'm only involved in the Agile framework and implementing that within organizations. What does transactional competence, in your view, bring to that?
Yeah, that's really $6 million question. And my talk at the conference is going to reflect this theme, really. There's a set of processes in Agile and artifacts and ceremonies and roles. You can pick those up and implement them and frankly get very little benefit. There's usually some benefit that comes from the adoption of the techniques. But Agile itself, the Agile Manifesto is expressed as a series of couplets, and the first of them is individuals and interactions over processes and tools, which really says that there's something about the way in which people transact together that is fundamentally important when it comes to the outcomes that they achieve together. And if you just install the processes and the tools without attending to and caring about the people, then you're going to have a very reduced experience. You're not going to see the benefits that you're hoping for. And there are many examples of Agile transformations that fall far short of the promise. So the question is, what is the difference that makes the difference between a successful transformation and one which is inauthentic or hollow? And in my experience and in the experienced Agile coaches that I'm working with, the opportunity in Agile transformation is for people who are experiencing personal development in the context of this transformation to bring their energy and insight to the larger transformation. Well, transactional competence is just a terrific way for people to grow themselves and to experience the asset that their personality is, as well as the liability that it can be when it's applied in ways that are not constructive. So the pointers that come out of, for example, the TCX program, transactional competence for across teams or for cross-functional teams, those insights are huge leverage points when it comes to accelerating transformation in teams and groups.
That's very good. So the name of your talk specifically is what?
It's people-centered processes.
Yeah, well, and you've pointed to this just a little bit. So it sounds like the opportunity that transactional competence is to the Agile framework is to focus in on the is it the first point, the language, the manifesto? Say that again.
The first couplet of the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools.
Great. So it sounds like it goes a long way to deliver on that particular couplet or the intention of that couplet. Is there anything else you want to say about this talk, just to give us a sense of what is this talk about? What will I learn from this talk? How might I apply this in my large company or perhaps even my small company?
Yeah, thanks for the question, John. Well, I'm going to be looking at what is process. Process is a sequence of activities or actions that achieve an outcome of some type. So there are the actions that take place. There's the kind of abstract description of that, like the relationship between the things you do in the kitchen and the repeatable recipe that you use. And then there's how do you manage the process. So I'll look at that a little bit. I'll be making an assertion that the way you design and implement processes for people, where people are involved, business processes, really there's a spectrum. If you come at the design of process from a command and control perspective, you end up with processes that are often coercive and that suppress creativity and self-expression. Whereas if you come at process from the point of view of how are you going to support people in finding motivation, in bringing their creativity and having self-expression, and being connected to one another and to the mission. In other words, how does your process become a series of reciprocal exchanges that advances the aims of the organization as well as the aims of the individual sort of working within the organization, you get to a completely different place. So I'll be giving specific examples that people can take away, hopefully, and apply of, little fragments of process, how to consider process in general, and takeaways that they can apply in their own context.
If we step back and consider command and control as a particular framework or process, and there are others that are perhaps undistinguished or inherited, or we could say part of the current, what are some of the ways in which people or organizations might express their naivete, from your perspective, when they're not people-centered in those approaches or those processes? And you mentioned things like coercion and so forth. What are some of the other consequences of not applying people-centered processes?
There's some really good work in this field. I'd point to the work that Dan Pink has done in his book Drive, which looks at motivations, what motivates people. Are they coin operated, for example? And there's other work in this area. David Marquet's work with the leadership ladder, and how to empower people to be leaders and self-directed in the context. If you approach people with the point of view that they're going to be lazy and they're going to avoid work, or if you bring that attitude to the workplace, then you'll design systems that constrain and suppress people, and you'll get the bare minimum out of the system that you've implemented that you can possibly imagine. So my assertion is that people's level of motivation has a huge impact on the outcome, especially when we're talking about professionals or knowledge workers, where they have to bring creativity and critical thinking to bear in the tasks. Dan Pink talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, and I've alluded to that in some of the language that I used earlier. So being self-directed, being able to express your creativity, being connected to a larger mission, and so on. So if you are naive to the significant impact of enabling environments where people get to experience joy rather than suffering in the workplace, then the outcomes that you'll achieve are vastly diminished.
That's really well said. All right. Well, I look forward to hearing the talk. What are you looking forward to most about the conference?
Well, the Influence Ecology conferences have been the best conferences I've ever experienced. I've been to quite a few conferences over the years, but I've typically found the Influence Ecology conferences enlightening and confronting in almost equal measure. They've been quite transformative sometimes, but always very deeply engaging. So I expect to be part of an event that has those characteristics, and I'm really enthusiastic about that.
That's great. All right. Well, Simon, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you.
Thanks so much, John.
During the conference, we'll hear about each topic, why it's important, and how you can apply these strategies and tactics to your own business or profession. In addition to our July 2020 conferences, our campus offers corporate training, educational workshops, and study incubators that include ambitious professionals from many industries, professions, and cultures. We provide social mixers and networking events to help connect with others and their expertise. We allow students, faculty, and mentors the opportunity to connect before and after program sessions to get help, form study groups, and use the campus for discussion. We also offer our advanced students premier program venues that serve their aims for an elite experience amongst peers. We can't wait to see you around campus.